monsters, aliens, you know, limbs floating through space. If those things sound appealing to you, then Dead Space is probably the game you're going to want to pick up this October. And we're here at the EA headquarters to learn quite a bit more from the guys who spent an awful lot of time trying to figure out how to scare you the most. So let's go check it out. We're here now with Chuck Beaver, who's a senior producer on Dead Space, and I think it's pretty safe to assume that this is one of, if not the only, sci-fi third-person survival horror game that takes place in outer space that I can think of, at least. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot in the genre. And actually, that's one of our big differentiators, is that we're sci-fi for survival horror. Survival horror normally is in a haunted house, or at least on Earth, and there's already a village in Mexico. So yeah, we're in outer space and in the future.
Can you give me a little backstory to what's going on here?
Yeah, totally. So all of Earth's resources have been exhausted. So they send out these huge city-sized Planet Cracker-class ships that go out and mine entire planets and smelt them down and take all that back to Earth. And so one of the ships is out there and it goes dark while it's on a mission, sends out a distress signal, and Isaac Clarke, our engineer, is sent out to fix it. So he brings a small crew with him. He gets out there and it's anything but a simple like communications failure.
So they're attacked by aliens.
Essentially,
Aliens.
they don't quite know. Yeah, they don't quite know what it is, but they quickly find out that all the crew is dead, and this is actually the reanimated flesh of the dead crew that's attacking them.
Space zombies.
Space zombies.
Does he use his engineering skills as a way to survive?
It's kind of the point of the character, actually, is that he's not like this big loaded-out space marine guy. He is just like an everyday engineer, and the point of the game is that he is picking up tools on the ship, like mining tools, and using his knowledge of the tools to turn them into weapons. So he picks up like a small plasma cutter that you use to shoot like pieces of a rock apart. This huge ore gun that, like, you know, this huge bolt of energy comes out and knocks the whole granite wall apart. Those are really handy when you're fighting the way the crew has become. So yeah, it's all about his engineering role on the ship that helps him survive.
So they're not traditional weapons, but they're still pretty good at killing things.
Yeah, it just so happens that mining tools are great at killing things.
You guys have a totally different HUD from other games. I mean, you've kind of developed a whole new system for controlling how the character works. Can you tell me a little more about that?
So we put all the HUD on the character. So his health bar's on his back, his ammo counter's on a hologram on his forearm. He's got an entire inventory system that's projected off to his right, kind of like a holographic HUD, right? It sits off to his right, and it's really in the game, and he really looks at it, and he watches you work with it, and the map is on that. So essentially, all of the information you need is in the fiction and in the game.
This may be our last chance of getting out of here alive.
Tell me about strategic dismemberment, because that sounds like a very interesting term I'd like to learn more about.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to say, isn't it? Strategic dismemberment.
Dismemberment.
It's a core mechanic in the game. It essentially means you have to rip every limb off of the enemy in total before he's dead. So,
wait, so every single limb?
Every single limb.
So, I mean, it's really not just the game that you guys have been working on. There's a comic book and also a film, an animated film, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So the story, when we were making the game, got too big for just the game.
Nice.
We're like, well, we want to tell all this, so we started looking for more properties we could tell it in. And Glenn, our executive producer, was excited to do like a comic book, so we went and got Ben Templesmith and Anthony Johnson to do the comic series. They did 6 series for us. And then we were still not done, so we had more, so we did the animated feature with Stars Film Roman.
Excellent. Well, very well done. I'm very excited to see the game. I'm a little nervous about it, but I think I'll give it a shot anyway. There's a lot of atmospheric noises that I'm a little uncomfortable with.
If you're brave, turn the lights off and play loud by yourself.
I don't know if I like the loud idea.
I think you'll be fine.
Now in the lovely atrium here at EA and surrounded by tons of creepy artwork, which I believe is your fault.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm the art director on the game, so.
Yes, this is Ian Millam, and art director, as you said, and the game looks freaking terrifying.
That's the idea.
And we're doing a little feature this month on the spookiest, scariest monsters that we can find, and you've made some pretty decent ones.
We've tried our best, yeah.
So what are your top 3 favorites?
Well, it's tough to pick because they're like your kids in a really terrible way.
Horrifying,
You're
creepy,
horrifying,
disgusting
terrible,
children.
disgusting children. When we started, we had monsters, like, you know, like alien monsters. And then over time, we realized that what was really scary was stuff that was more relatable. Like when you can still sort of see the person they used to be, and sort of, they had a little bit of tragedy to them, and they were more not just scary, but a little bit repellent. Like you saw them and went,
Like,
ooh,
ugh.
ooh, that's not right. It's like, you know, like if someone took
people,
like a
but twisted.
bottle opener to your teeth, right? Like that. See, like that hurts just thinking about it. There's your standard guy, that like the terrible fellow we see behind us, which are sort of our slashers, and that's the one where we have the most sort of menagerie of them, because that's what the regular people, the crew, have turned into. The vast majority of them. Number 2 would probably be the pregnant, who is kind of like those, except she's carrying around a giant sack, and the idea is you have to be very surgical in the way you're trying to defend yourself against her, because if you get her in the gut, your problems get a lot worse, because now a bunch more bad guys come out of there.
Hence pregnant.
Hence pregnant. And then the third one is, right, they're on a future mining ship, there's a lot of accidents that happen, and what they do is they grow clones for spare parts. It's just sort of like, oh, well, you know, hey, if you're a mining guy and you accidentally lose your forearm, awesome, we'll grow you a new one. So they've got a supply of, well, babies. And when the infection reaches them, there are new bad guys that are created called lurkers, and they sort of hide in the shadows and skitter around, and they get you from the shadows.
Oh,
like
they're
that.
like tiny, horrible babies.
Yeah, sort of like that.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
Did you have to study a lot of like dismembered limbs to get it just right?
Well, we've got some reference folders that parts of the team won't look in.
You need a kitten chaser after that.
dude.
You need to like go look at like a bunch of kitty cats.
Oh, it's been rough.
For a while.
After a while, you do sort of get a little bit immune, but every once in a while. Ugh. And again, stuff that you are primally afraid of happening to you, and then you see it has happened to someone else, and then you're like, oh no. What we wanted to avoid is that sort of, you've seen those cheesy monsters like a skeleton with a rocket launcher on his shoulder, right? And you're sort of like, that's not horror. We wanted like mature, real horror designs.
Is this the scariest game you've worked on?
Oh, by a mile.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I would have said that 6 months ago, and it's way scarier now.
The game looks freaking scary.
Thanks.
To say that for the 100th time, it's really scary.